Hey lads and lasses, Squee913 here, again. So, I was at the Mass Effect forums the other day, and I saw a thread entitled something along the lines of "Another plot hole in the Mass Effect universe." Because those threads are always fun. Yeah, I'll be the first to admit that Mass Effect is not a flawless story. There are, of course, plot holes in it, and some inconsistencies here and there, and as much as I defend the game, I won't pretend that it's a saint, but a lot of what people call plot holes or inconsistencies, I believe, are simply because they either A, haven't examined all the evidence or truly considered it, or B, just don't know what they're talking about. I generally tend to go with the first one. I always assume ignorance or a different point of view over stupidity because, you know, you make more friends that way. But, so this particular thread was talking about how retarded they felt it was that the Council continues to deny the Reaper existence, even despite all the evidence to the contrary. They claim that this is simply a plot hole, or at the very least very bad writing, because there's just no conceivable way that the Council would be that idiotic. And the truth is that, you know, the debate back and forth was like, what evidence exactly? And they listed a bunch of points, and I found myself reading pretty much the entire forum, shaking my head back and forth. And I was just gonna leave it alone, but the voices inside my head told me to make this video.
Holy crap, I can hear a voice in my head!
Is it telling you my name is Dende?
Hush, little green! The voice speaks to me!
No, not those voices. These voices. Ah, yes. I mean, come on, let's be honest, people. You don't with My Little Pony. Even Rex knows that. I don't know who you are who made this comic, but I swear you are a god among men. A god, I say! So, basically, I took a break from my typical fail at Let's Playing, so that I could make this quick little video to help try and bring new perspective to the argument. I'm gonna try and list all the arguments as to why the idea that the Council is denying it is so stupid, and try and offer a different perspective on why these may not be as stupid as you think. And of course, again, as always, if I miss a point or two, I apologize. I am only human, we think. I could be a lesser form of monkey. Okay, where was I? Alright, so why don't we start with, the first thing is the biggest argument was, you know, the Council keeps claiming that it's just a Geth ship, that Sovereign was just a Geth ship and not a Reaper ship, and how could they possibly not tell the difference? And the original post was talking about carbon dating, how they could have told that it was way older than the Geth was supposed to be. And the problem with carbon dating is, and I'm not a scientist, and there was a post talking about it, how carbon dating actually works, but one major problem with carbon dating is, A, just because you prove how old the material used to build the ship was doesn't mean anything. Space is very, very old. All it would prove is that the Geth mined some very old planet to gather the materials needed to make the ship. It doesn't mean that there was an ancient civilization of machines millions of years ago. It just means that the resources the Geth found at the time to construct that ship was millions of years old. So carbon dating might very accurately have told them how old Sovereign was, but that's not going to give them any insight into who made Sovereign. I mean, we can carbon date a piece of pottery and know that it was 4,000 years old, and that's great. But that doesn't tell us anything about who made the pottery or how they used it or anything like that. Age doesn't really help you that much. And, you know, well, Sovereign was so much older than other Geth ships. Really? Were they? Did you carbon date them? Did you carbon date the materials in the Geth ship? How old were they? What materials did the Geth use to make that? Is there even carbon in those materials? I would assume there is, but the truth is, we don't know. So we have no idea if carbon dating would really work or not. And another argument was, well, how come they can't just examine the Sovereign and tell how obviously different it is from other Geth ships? First of all, How obviously different is it? Have you seen a Geth ship? Have you seen a Reaper ship? Can you tell how different or similar their methods of building them are? Because I can't, because we've never seen one. A huge argument. Everyone's like, obviously you can tell the pieces of Sovereign were different from the pieces of the Geth ship, and obviously how? Show them to me. Point out in a short list what the differences are between the two ships. For all we know, the Geth could have copied Sovereign's design after they turned heretic and made modifications to their ships to make them more similar to Sovereign. We don't know. So you can't sit there and say it's such a stupid argument that they can't tell the difference when you don't have anything to look at to show there's a huge difference between them. Well, no, one's purple and one's black. You kind of got me there. Let me give you a quick example. Let's say ships from England and ships from China back in the 1600s decide to attack the Native Americans of North America. Now, they're both going to have ships of very different make, very different materials, very different designs. But do you think the Native Americans are going to think they're two separate people? No, of course not. Not from one battle. They're just going to assume that the same person makes two different types of ships. Wouldn't you? I mean, they're not going to sit there and magically know, oh, well, these came from people all the way across the world, and these came from a more advanced people down here. They're not going to know that, so why should we? And just so that I don't have to deal with any stupid arguments about, well, obviously they could tell that Chinese people look different from English people. Let's say they're all crewed by English people, okay? Alright, so what other evidence could we possibly have to show the council? And remember, we're not gamers, metagaming, that know this is a game and know that stuff is about to go down. And we're not Shepard, who is pretty much the only person who's had direct contact with the Reapers other than Shepard's party. So what other evidence could we use to prove that there's a mythical race of machines coming to destroy us? Well, what about Vigil and Ilos? A lot of people say, well, why couldn't they got information from them? Even if Vigil shut down, they should have still been able to find something, and there were all those sleeper pods on Ilos from the Protheans. And I'm like, what? Okay, so that proves that there are Protheans on Ilos. How does that give you any information whatsoever about the Reapers? Okay, so because the Protheans had cryogen chambers, that the Reapers exist? I don't understand that argument. And as far as Vigil goes, I don't remember the quote exactly, but when Vigil shut down, I'm assuming he didn't have much recoverable data. And even if he did, do you read Prothean? Because I don't, and they don't. So really, how are they going to? Let's say there's gigabytes of data, all in some weird dead language that died out 50,000 years ago. How much information do you think you're going to get from that exactly? I know there could be an argument of, well, why didn't Vigil give Shepard data? Why didn't they download data to their Omni tool and stuff like that? How exactly? Does the Omni tool have an interface for Prothean data? They communicated telepathically. Remember the beacons? The only reason why they were able to communicate with Vigil at all is because Vigil adapted himself to match their language. And when he shut down, I'm pretty sure that system shut down with him. So no other Prothean system would have the ability to do that. And unless you can prove that they were able to get this information from Vigil, that he shut down in such a way that they could hack into his system and collect data from him, that argument's null and void. Show me the proof, and then we'll say, okay, yep, that's a very valid argument. Until then, nah, not so much. So what other pieces of evidence could you use? The Reaper ship that Cerberus found? Cerberus isn't going to tell anyone they found a Reaper ship. They're going to keep that stuff for themselves. They're Cerberus. They want an edge upon everybody else. Why in the world would they tell the galaxy, hey, look what we found? And it's not like it's a unique thing to Mass Effect. How many shows and series and movies where one country found some sort of alien tech and didn't tell anybody else about it? It's just common. I don't even know why people would think Cerberus would just magically say, hey, look, we found a Reaper! Even if the galaxy's in trouble, Cerberus is arrogant enough to think they could solve it on their own. They've said it before. And sure, Shepard eventually found the Reaper ship, but if you recall, Shepard also crashed it into the center of a gas planet. Therefore, his smoking gun is kind of not usable now. I mean, what's he going to point to? Hey, look, there's a Reaper ship in the middle of that gas planet. Go find it! And some people have said, well, why, when he found the Reaper ship, why didn't he go tell them immediately? Two things. One, and I've said this in other videos, One, because he was busy. He didn't think going to tell the council, he or she, didn't think going to tell the counselor, hey, look, I found a Reaper ship. Oh, by the way, don't touch it. I have to go grab an IFF out of it for Cerberus. Would go over too well. And Tim's already proven that he's a master of monitoring and intercepting transmissions, so I doubt very seriously he would have let Shepard send a friendly phone call to the council, so he really couldn't have told them before he went to the Reaper ship. So exactly what evidence does Shepard have to show the council that there's irrefutable proof that the Reapers are coming? None. I mean, his visions, the parts of the Sovereign which the council already believes is a Reaper ship. I mean, he doesn't really have much to show them. Definitely not enough for them to believe that an ancient civilization of machines are coming to destroy them all. One of the biggest arguments you guys have is, well, they should have been recording stuff. They should have been filming it. They could have filmed everything and showed it to the council, and that would have been proof. But really, not so much. I mean, what are they going to show them? What are they going to film? They're going to film the discussion with Sovereign on Saren's Vermeer base? The council would probably just dismiss that as more attempts for Saren to mislead Shepard. They would have said, oh, well, Saren just programmed some hologram to tell you all that stuff to try and lead you along. That's not going to prove that the Reapers exist. The conversation with Vigil, maybe we'll get back to that. The collector ship, that's not going to prove anything other than it's a collector ship. It won't prove any connection to the Reapers. The Reaper ship they found the IFF in, again, all they're going to say is, well, it's just another advanced Geth ship. It doesn't prove anything. The only two things that you could possibly say might help prove the Reaper's existence was the conversation with Vigil and maybe the conversation with Harby at the end of Arrival. But at that point, I mean, Shepard knew that the Alliance already knew, so what's the point? So let's say the conversation with Vigil. Alright, so, assuming that Shepard had a camera at that one point in time in the story and made a recording, it might have made a difference. But the game has never shown the ability to have a camcorder installed into their armor. It's never shown that. Yes, maybe some common day soldiers do have cameras, but that's an experimental technology and on very limited amounts of people. It's not in widely used. Now, it's the future, yes, but again, if the game never shows any ability whatsoever for them to have a camera or for the Omni tool to make video recordings of things, then it can't really be that much of an argument, because there could be 100 reasons why it's not there, even if it's possible to be there. Perhaps the armor, the power supply in the armor is all used to generate the Mass Effect shields, or whatever else that the armor needs. There could be a million reasons why they don't have a camcorder installed in their armor, and I don't think Shepard's going to waste one of his team members so that they can go around with the camcorder making home movies. So really, while that is the strongest argument you have, there are tons of possibilities or explanations as to why they might not have a camera installed in their suit. And unless you can prove that they should or would have a camera installed in their suit, then it's not bad writing. It would be really your burden to explain why it should have a camera. So really, what does the council have as far as evidence goes? Shepard's word. That's about it. The word of Shepard and his crew. And even if it's to be taken seriously, what government is going to make such drastic steps and movements based on the words of one person? No government. They would at best send a committee to try and verify the findings, and they couldn't. I mean, there were hints made in Mass Effect 2 that there was follow-up, that people did try to go to Ilos to get this information. People did examine Sovereign, and their findings were not in line with what Shepard was telling them, or at least couldn't prove what Shepard was telling them. So why would you think that the council would be all happy to jump on board and say, yeah, Reapers, coming to kill us all. Woohoo! Yay! You know, and there's another theory too, that the council does believe they're existing, but they're trying to avoid letting the public know or admitting it to avoid panic. And this is impossible. It is possible as well. I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't be. Let's say the council does believe the Reapers are coming, but don't want to publicly acknowledge it because they don't want to start a panic. All right. The biggest argument for this is, well, then why did they still deny it when they were alone with Shepard on a secure channel? Why wouldn't they deny it? First of all, Shepard's working with Cerberus. Why are they going to tell Shepard, someone who could potentially be an enemy, that they agree that the Reapers are coming and give Shepard information that they may not want Cerberus to know? well, and I heard someone say, well, because they want Shepard to stop working for Cerberus, all they have to do is give him a reason to stop working for Cerberus. If Shepard felt that the Council believed the Reapers were there, he would stop working with Cerberus. No, he wouldn't. First of all, there's no way the Council could know this. So, okay, we should tell them classified information because one of their agents may come work for us. Well, what if he doesn't? Oh, well, we'll be screwed. But that's fine. Tell them the information anyway. Secondly, just because the Council admits that the Reaper threat exists doesn't mean they're doing anything about it. Shepard might still stay with Cerberus because they're still the only ones doing something about it. And another reason why they wouldn't admit it to Shepard, even in a closed room, is, I don't know, what if Shepard, say, made an audio recording of it and then went out and said, look, the Council said they exist. No. The way politicians like to work is they like to be thorough. If they deny it to one person, they're going to try and deny it to everybody. Not just go behind closed doors and say, oh, yeah, you were right, but we're trying to keep it on the DL, you know what I mean? And all of this aside, even if there was enough evidence for someone to believe the Reapers exist, it's still not unbelievable that the Council would make incredibly bad decisions. It's happened all throughout history. People like to pretend nothing is wrong. Look at World War II and the appeasement processes that we went through. Oh, let Germany do this in hopes that they won't attack. Oh, give Germany that. Maybe they'll be happy and they won't attack. Yeah, that seems like it was a great idea. Worked out great, didn't it? But governments went with this policy because they did not want to believe that there would be war. And this happens a lot throughout history. One of the reasons why the Mongol hordes were so successful is because no one believed that there was a giant horde of horsemen coming to go kill them. And then when they found out, they're just coming for that guy. They're not really going to come for us. And then when they found out they were coming, they're just a bunch of savages. We can take them. And everyone got their butts kicked. And these are governments too. Did you know that the first constitution the United States made gave every individual state the ability to print its own version of money and choose what taxes to pay to the federal government? It was chaos! No one could spend money anywhere because everyone had different forms of money and the federal government had no power whatsoever because why in the world is a state going to give them money if they don't have to? This seems like an incredibly stupid idea, yet it happened. Governments are not always the most intelligent people in the world. They often make mistakes. Why? Because they don't want to believe something bad is going to happen. In 2260, the League of Non-Aligned Worlds kept refusing to band together to fight the Shadows, even though irrefutable proof had been presented to them that the Shadows were coming. It was, no, they're not. And then, oh, sure they are, but just for these worlds, not our worlds. And don't you dare tell me Babylon 5's not real. If it's not real, what happened to Jack the Ripper? Huh? I rest my case. So, let's say the Council does believe they exist. It's still understandable that they might pretend they don't. And the simple truth is, no matter how you look at it, it's not some huge plot hole. It's not bad writing. It honestly does make sense that the Council is not going to believe the words of one man, no matter how much they trust him. And to be honest, they don't trust him that much. There is not enough evidence for the Council to believe there is a giant race of machines coming to kill everybody. Okay, enough said. I'm done.